with the new record, if we start with that, Tuxedo Man, and y- it's nice to hear. I mean, my favorite track is the number track 4. I think that Crazy Thing, which is really open, but I think it's the fourth one. Like,
Crazy Time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love the
Yeah.
drums there. And but how did this record happen? I mean, what's the story behind there? I mean, I've known David now, and I know you, and
Yeah.
like,
Well, I mean, I knew I'd met David a couple times just in passing over the years, and I know his brother Bruce, really good drummer,
yeah.
instructor. But all of a sudden, David moved from LA to Springfield, Illinois. And he just
Oh, okay.
contacted me out of the blue, said, "Hey man, I just moved down here with my wife and, love to, come up and meet you." So he came up to the house and, we spent like 5 hours just listening to records and talking, getting to know each other. And then I just suggested, like, man, let's go and there's a good studio here that I've done all these records. It's 5 minutes away. And just to see, I mean, no plans, not to do a record, just to get,
Okay.
just to play. Because, we got along so well that evening talking and everything that it was like, man, I felt like I knew him my entire life or something. So we just went in the studio and I wrote the liner notes that tells the whole story. I don't know if you saw the liner
No, no, no.
notes.
I didn't see. I just listened to it.
Oh, okay. I should have sent you the liner notes because, because the story is as fascinating in some ways as the music. Because, all of a sudden we went in, and I didn't even know what to bring. I didn't know what we were doing, so I just brought some stuff. And we, got there, and the engineer, Brian, Brandon rather, he met us, and we just set up, and he just got some sounds, and we just started playing, man. And the first song, which was called The Hunt, because David wanted to call anything if we did get something Tuxedo Man, okay, because his cat had died. So anyway, so I like coming up with titles. I'll write down anything that comes to my mind on my phone. I've probably got 1,000 ideas for titles and stuff. So, you know, we started playing, and all of a sudden it just felt so good. And then, we overdubbed some stuff on it. And then we did the second tune we did was Tuxedo Man.
Hmm.
So that was the only kind of tune that was a pre-composed tune because David had written that for his cat. And when he's told me what it was about, in my mind, I think I'm not thinking, like, oh, I'm going to play a ballad, I just, I thought of a cat. And so I'm playing on all these percussion
Yeah,
things
yeah.
and I love soloing on ballads. So I used on the brushes, I used a, FedEx envelope and a USPS envelope. And we played it. And after we were done with the, just one take of everything, he goes, Paul, he goes, man, I'm just going to share the writing and publishing with you down 50-50 because I guess I, you know, played it in a way that he wouldn't even have imagined, which I loved. So then, so now we've, recorded two little things, and then I suggested a free thing. So that's the one that would have been Crazy Time, right? And we
Yeah.
just
That's
played, and
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, and it was funny because I mean, the drums sound the way they are on those cuts is because I just threw a bed sheet over the entire drums, including the cymbals, So we played Crazy Time, and then, it was great. And then I said, well, man, let's overdub on it. So I turned the snare off, and we played over Crazy Time, which sounded great together, but they sounded amazing separate.
Separate. Yeah.
So all of a sudden we had that, and then we wanted to do like something with a groove. So again, then we did the thing that turned out to be cicadas and beans, and then we finished by doing the thing which was called the catch. So all of a sudden now we're starting to have an order,
Yeah.
but um, and then we were done. So, we recorded probably 4 hours or something. That was it. And then we went and had pizza at this great pizza place. And then, David drove back down to Springfield. So, we didn't know what we had. I mean, it wasn't anything planned. So all of a sudden we're listening and we go, oh my God, this is incredible.
Mm.
So that's when I, put the order together with the hunt. And then, you know, um, since well, the tune Crazy Time and the other tune Spiders on Drugs, that was my title. They sounded great separately, so they kind of bookend over the ballad, over Tuxedo Man. And then we put, cicadas and beans on there. And I had actually, there were cicadas in my neighborhood, so I just happened to record them, on my iPhone one day. So we started kind of, layering things on top just because we had this great stuff and we just wanted to finish mixing it with, again, not knowing if we had anything, but thinking we did. So then, just as an experiment, I decided to put all six tunes on top of each other because I know no one had ever done that. It was almost like a Charles Ives thing, and all of a sudden, named it, All in Good Time.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, okay, now we got this record, and we're really happy. And David had taken that great photo of his cat Mister, that was his name, but it was Tuxedo Man was what we called him a lot. So then we had to find a label if we were going to do something with it. So David had a connection, I think, to a label in Germany, and the label wasn't. They were, I guess, having some issues at that time, so they couldn't do it. And then I contacted a couple labels that I had done things with. But finally, I just contacted GAD Records, the Polish label that I had done stuff with SBB.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, we'd love to do this. And I was like, okay, this is great. So they asked if it was mastered. And I went, oh, yeah. And then I looked for a free mastering program. So I mastered that record using BandLab,
Mm.
actually,
Yeah.
you know. And so I've been doing that. I mean, because I'm even teaching an AI class right now at school, because, kids are afraid of AI, which in some reasons, they might want to be afraid of it, if
Yeah.
it kills us. But in general, man, there's so many great tools like Moises.ai and all these things that, you know, they're here, so why not use them?
Use them. Yeah.
I'll tell you a story about the Lyle Mays thing too, using voices. So to get back to this, all of a sudden the label GAD wanted to do something with it. And, I wrote the liner notes, and Lucas from GAD took the photo and he did really great artwork. So, we had these CDs. Now the CDs took a while because of the tariffs here, and they're doing LPs too. Like they're going to do a black
Oh
LP
wow.
and a purple LP, but we're waiting for that because everything is sort of backed up. But we decided, that it's my wife's favorite record. Like I said, we decided we should submit this for the Grammys. So
Yeah.
we submitted it to 5 Grammy categories. So I really think if anything should win a Grammy, at least on one, if not more of these categories, it should be this record. Because I think it sounds great. It tells a story. I listen to it over and over. I still hear new things all the time. I mean, it's so musical because even though it was improvised,
Oh, those are the best sometimes. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's composed. I mean, great compositions are improvised, sometimes not on the fly, but we did it on the fly. So what's the difference?
Yeah. 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 Beautiful, man. Yeah. Yeah. It's fantastic. It's nice to hear you again on a new record. Like,
Did you listen to
okay.
it more than once, or how many times did you?
I just listened to it once through.
Oh,
Like,
listen to it a bunch of times
okay.
because the
Okay.
thing is, you'll get to know it a lot more, and then even the crazy bonus track, All in Good Time, the more familiar you are with the music, it sounds like when you go to sleep, and all of a sudden, you're sleeping, and then the day's events all kind of like come into your consciousness. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
really like that, and I couldn't believe that all six cuts kind of flow together. It's almost like they're speaking to each other, which was really interesting too,
Interesting.
So. Yeah, I mean the adventure continues even at 72. And David and I, we speak like probably 3 times a day. It's just we have so much passion about what we're doing. And he knows a lot of people that I don't know, and I know some people
Sure.
that maybe
Yeah.
he doesn't know. So we're hoping that it'll get out there. Now the problem again is it's on a Polish label. So to get it to be reviewed, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and to get it, because I mean, in the old days with Pat Metheny Group, you did a record, 100,000
Oh,
people are going to
sure.
hear it, and it's going to be, and now, you do stuff, and it's basically just tossing it into the air and hoping that a good breeze takes it far.
Yeah. It's really heavy nowadays, man. I mean, I did this record with Ariel and Moses. and you know, we got amazing reviews, like Downbeat, everything, all these, but in the end, it's still like shit, man. You know, for the gigs, you have to do it yourself, and it's like it's so
Yeah.
heavy nowadays. Like so much music out there, and you know, it's
Well, also the
but you know,
competition just,
yeah, yeah,
with streaming and everything. I mean, people just they binge watch shows now. I mean, people don't go out the same way they used to
no,
go out. I
absolutely.
mean, the clubs, even in Chicago, for instance, like I'll be in Italy next week. I'm doing this thing, this Lyle Mays tribute, but I had to get out of 4 nights at the Jazz Showcase with Mike Stern. I was supposed to play
Oh
with.
man,
Okay, and I mean that's a whole story too, because Mike is the greatest. But could you imagine a nightmare scenario where you get double booked? Because I asked the
that's
gentleman,
yeah,
said, yeah, I can do the gig in Milan, just don't do it that weekend. And of course, that's the only day it could be done. But in the old days, like the Jazz Showcase, you'd play Tuesday through Sunday, like 3 shows. I mean, on a Tuesday, your last show is like at 1 a.m. Now stuff is done early. It's just everything is
it's
just
changed. Yeah,
different. It's really
yeah.
changed. Parking's more expensive and, all these things. So people don't go out the same way. And then they can
Absolutely.
watch live shows, you know, either streamed live or after the fact on
Yeah,
YouTube or whatever. So people, in the old days, man, if you missed the show, you missed the show. Just like with television, if you missed an Ed Sullivan show on a Sunday night when the Beatles were on the first time, well, you missed it. Now
yeah.
everything's a
Just watch back, yeah, and it's like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's gotten so crazy. But I mean, that's what it is. So
yeah,
with my classes, rather than tell kids to be afraid, I said, well, be concerned, but realize that stuff's out there. And so how are you going to deal with it?
yeah,
Because you can't just go under the covers and hide your head and hope it goes away, because it's not.
yeah,
So how do you find yourself in this new environment to be able to do what you want to do, to be able to live your life the way you want to live it.
yeah,
And it's tough, but it's always been tough. I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
not everyone
Yeah.
always got their wish to be, touring the world and all that stuff. I mean, a lot of great musicians never got the breaks, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Yeah.
it's different, yeah. But you know, the music we play, it's never been easy, like you said, you know. So it's but Paul, I wanted to ask you one thing.
Yeah,
Speaking of
yeah.
like, I listened to one record, the 19 Men of Tain, and there is one track with you on it. Like it's one Italians did it.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Alan
yeah.
Holdsworth
Right,
tribute
right,
thing. Like,
right.
did you ever play with Alan Holdsworth, or like, well, what is your relationship with him? I mean, did you know about his music? Obviously, you
No,
did, but like,
no, no. Enrico, the guitar player, and then a drummer, Ali, who I just
yeah.
talked with yesterday, they asked me if I wanted to play on one track.
Oh, okay.
And so, it's the same studio. I just overdubbed on it, and Ali was already on drums. I said, "Well, I'll just play over it,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
rather than replace him." But when I was head of jazz for 5 years at Roosevelt University, I did have Alan Holdsworth's trio come
Really?
as
Oh,
guest
wow, okay.
artists. Yeah, and they played a place called Space in Evanston and they did a clinic for everybody, for the students and stuff. And so, it was great. I mean, he was great. I mean, that particular trio had what Chad Wackerman was on drums and
Oh, okay.
you know. But yeah, I mean, it's funny how life works, man. I mean, I don't have an agent or a manager, and just people call me up on stuff. I mean, there's like 7 new records coming out soon, and it just sort of happens. And then sometimes you get double booked because I mean, this Lyle Mays tribute on the 7th of November in Milan's going to be amazing. It's with the symphony orchestra.
Wow, man.
Yeah, it's like a 60-piece symphony orchestra. And so I'm trying to learn the music because there's like 10 compositions that
By Lyle, or
DC wrote out, and they're all like 8, 10 minutes long. So I'm trying to learn it all so I don't have to be sight reading on the stuff. But I've got other things. But that was so sad because I was in Denmark playing with Niels Landauke and talking to Pino Giudice and just said, man, this gig's in November, just don't book it that weekend. And then sure enough, that's the only time it was available. So I had to call Mike and get out of it. And he was, he's the greatest, not only guitar player, but the person is he's
Yeah.
fantastic. So he was like, oh, don't worry about it. I understand, it's like it's a big concert, one time only event.
Have you
But it
played
broke
with
my heart.
with Mike before, by the way, with
Oh
Stern?
yeah, sure.
You did?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, I
Yeah,
didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So it's like we knew each other, and sometimes just, I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah.
But it makes me really sad because I couldn't wait for my students to hear me, play with Mike, at the Jazz Showcase too, which is like 3 blocks from our school and all that. But it is what it is. So hopefully it'll work out in the future where I don't get double booked like that.
Yeah, it
You know.
would be nice to hear you with Mike. I never heard you with Mike, like
Oh yeah, yeah,
oh, wow, quite cool.
yeah. That it's really fun, and he's so musical. His wife,
Yeah, yeah,
Lenny, is
Lenny. Yeah, yeah.
Lenny is fantastic. Yeah, I mean, just good people.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
good.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Some things that I wanted to ask you is like the last time we spoke, I mean, obviously we spoke about Pat, and the other day I was teaching one student Last Train Home, which was one of the main tunes that basically that record when I was 15, I think I heard it, and that got me hooked into jazz. And I remember I started playing jazz, and then one drummer that I played with, I was like 16, he said like, man, it's an impossible drum part to play for 5 minutes. And
Yeah.
what's the story behind that track? I mean, and you playing that tune, you sounded, you're so in time. It's like a robot. On the other hand, it's so musical. Musical. How did that tune happen? And especially the drum part. I mean,
Well, Pat and I sometimes would get together, just the two of us, just to jam. I mean, that's how some of this stuff for First Circle came about
really?
too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and also even Imaginary Days. So that one, was just that just came about, and then the train beat just kind of happened. And so when you do that, I mean, it's not hard for me to do. You know, I've got good chops, and it's a matter of like sort of like a marathon where the first
Exactly.
the first 20 miles are easy, and it's the last six that can get to you. So I tell people that say if you're starting to like if your left hand's starting to get tired or something, just concentrate on your right hand or just concentrate on your feet, and then so that it's mind over matter and just relaxing. But yeah, you can't skip a 16th note. I mean, you just have
Exactly,
to.
man. It's like 6 minutes of
Yeah, yeah. And I've
shit.
done that live with other bands. I guess people always want to see if I'm going to fall over, but it was part of the gig. And what's funny is like there's a new album that'll be coming out with Fareed Haq. I know you know
Sure,
Fareed,
yeah.
and it's called Off the Rails, and the name of the band's Wertico, Hawk, and Gray. So it's me, Fareed, and Larry Gray,
Yeah.
and the tune "Strayin' Off the Rails," which is the first tune, is actually kind of it's sort of a last train home thing, but in a funny way where it starts going off the rails and then finally it just falls over. Yeah, you'll have to hear it. It's a really funny track. So, you got the chicka 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 chicka, and all the chicka chicka chicka, and then it gets back on the rails and then off and that's sort of the melody. And I wrote this impossible kind of lines. Fareed can play it. The piano player Fabrizio Moncada too, he can play it. But I play with some people they just can't play the head. I mean, it's too hard for them. And then so it's just a short head, and then we go into sort of like a free improvisation. But that's called straying off the rails. Because I'm into trains. I mean,
Sure.
obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, no, I love the track, man. Like, really. I remember clearly thinking always, like, man, it's minute 5 and you're still like there. Like, it's like shit,
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Yeah. I mean,
Well,
many
it's like,
tracks actually with Pat, like with that intensity
yeah, I mean,
you're
that was
building
my
up, you know.
job, it's just to
Yeah.
play in time and
Yeah.
keep the energy going and not get off with the sequencers if we were doing that or anything
Yeah.
like that. But back to Last Train Home, I mean, when our daughter got married in Italy last July with a fantastic wedding, that was the tune that she wanted to walk up the aisle with
Oh
me.
wow, man, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
so I cut the guitar solo out because the song was too long with the guitar solo. But that was one of those things. So I was
Yeah.
honored that she liked it so much, you know.
Oh man, the drums make the track actually.
Thanks, thanks. Yeah,
You know, real.
I should have gotten writing credits on it, but drummers don't ever get credits for writing
Yeah,
anything unless they write the
the
melody or the
melody. Yeah, sure.
harmony. Yeah, but mostly the melody or the lyrics, you know.
Yeah,
It's so weird, isn't it? I mean,
it
think
is
of all
actually if I think
the
about it.
famous songs that the
Steve
drums.
Gadd, you know, like 50 Ways to.
Anyways, yeah,
I mean, he's
Meet
not a
Your Lover.
composer there, like co-composer, right? And the drums are basically half of the track, in my opinion. I mean,
Yeah,
but
and I mean, and if you can hear like an intro to something on drums, that should be, you would think that that should be copyrightable because that's
yeah,
as, it's the same as hearing a melody or hearing
absolutely.
someone sing a lyric. But, you know, well, that's the other thing. I mean, teaching so much, which I love, you start realizing that in Western culture, even when I taught this blues class, I mean, Western culture just looked as the two out of the three important musical elements is melody and harmony. And that rhythm was almost like for quote unquote primitive people, you
Yeah,
know, until they tried to start notating it, So we're still kind of living in that kind of, I mean, it's frame of mind, which is sort of, for me, it's a drag, man, I
it is.
mean, there's bass lines sometimes like money, money, money and stuff where bass players get credit if they're given credit. And then there's also bands too. I think doesn't Coldplay,
Coldplay share equally everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
equally, right.
25%, which is, you know,
It should be like that if you're in a band, really,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, but the Beatles didn't do that, the Stones didn't do
yeah,
that. And I guess I could understand if someone's doing all the work and writing all the songs, not to share it all equally with about everything. But in general, if the musician's sound is integral to the
yeah,
music, it should be, I think, rewarded similarly, you know?
yeah, yeah.
But no, I mean,
Interesting.
people
Yeah.
just don't understand what we do. I mean, it was really funny. I listened to Lawrence Hobgood's interview
Oh
for
yeah,
instance, because remember I said there were a couple things I didn't think were correct,
yeah,
you know, and one of them was you asked about that song, It's a Thing.
yeah.
Okay. You know what that's based off of? Earwax Control. And Earwax Control's second album, Two Live, those are all the song titles that we
Oh,
came.
okay.
Yeah, uh, you know, as a young girl, Clevenger did forget. Now he's dead. The ditch. All those. So what uh, Kurt did was take those titles because he loved those. I can picture him here listening to that CD, and then he told a story around it, obviously. But he used every title in that.
Wow. Okay. Oh shit, I wasn't even aware. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, can I share something on this? I mean, I don't know if
I
I'm co-host.
think you. Yeah, I think you
If you
can.
make me co-host, I'll share something.
Let me see. I don't know how to do that actually. Shit.
You have to
Yeah.
participants, go to participants, go to
Make
see
host. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
co-host.
allow. Remove. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
make host here. Oh, change host now. Just wanna. Yeah. No, if I change the host, maybe he might then complicate with recording.
Oh, really? Okay, don't want to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I didn't know. I mean, I love the track so much. I told Lawrence, it's my favorite track on the album. It's just so creative.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. The ditch at the side of the tracks, painful and shocking as the details often are. Clever
Exactly.
did forget, now he's dead. Neutral categories of error. The burning at Ashtabula Bridge, March of the Hypocrites. Pork went up,
Oh
took a
wow,
drop to the ghost as a young girl, flopped into a puddles 3 feet deep. Here we divide to plunder. There's the titles right there.
that's
And
amazing.
how we did that was really interesting. Jeff Check, the bass player, I think that might have been his idea in this one, where we would look at a book and just take like a line and then go somewhere else in the book and then put those two sentences together.
Hmm,
You know,
it's quite cool. Yeah,
yeah.
but the band, I mean, the band is amazing there. Like also
Which one,
you,
your West Control or the
no,
or
no, like the Kurtz, like you and Lawrence, like that was beautiful hookup. I mean,
well, that was a lot of fun. But I'll tell you,
yeah,
this is really funny. I mean, it's great working with Kurt, great working with Lawrence. So no, no bad, no bad anything. But it was funny because when that first record, Lawrence, it says producer.
yeah.
He offered to have it him as producer and me as producer. And I didn't want to put my name as a, I said put it as co-producer because I didn't really think that record was all that good.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was good, but I mean, I didn't know, which, so that was my mistake, you know what I mean? And then the Messenger, I went in to produce some of that stuff. I went even to Sterling Sound with Greg Calby to work on the mastering of that. But it's like I didn't go in for all the sessions that I wasn't on because it was just weird. I mean, I guess I was involved, sort of with my daughter being born at the time and everything. So I didn't have a lot of time to do those things.
Sure.
But it reminds me of like, the Zombies, Colin Bloodstone, Odyssey and Oracle. That's a brilliant record. But Time of the Season,
Oh, yeah.
Colin Bloodstone didn't want to sing it. He didn't think it was a very good song,
Oh, interesting.
So sometimes people like, they think something and then you go, oh, well, oh, damn, what was I thinking? So, but those were fun days. I mean, playing with
Yeah.
Kurt was interesting. Got a lot of time to stretch on those things, and we toured around Europe a bit and stuff. But I was with Pat at the same time, so
Exactly. Yeah. That's
I
too
was
much. Yeah.
too busy to commit to anything at that time. But then I think Mike Rayner, the drummer that replaced me, was actually a student of mine for
Oh,
years.
really? Oh, well.
Yeah. So that's the other thing about teaching. Like when you have students succeed. I've had so many students that are, like Hannah Ford Welton, Prince's last drummer, she was with him for 3 years.
Mm,
That was my student, or Glenn Cochee from Wilco studied
sure.
with me.
Oh, really? I
And
didn't know
so,
that. Wow.
yeah, and so you see all these people that were really talented, and then you just hopefully can enhance, or give what you think would even help them. And then some of them become more famous than you are. So it's great. You feel like you're contribute. It's like having children. It's
That's
like
important. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
come on.
you know,
That's really important. Yeah.
yeah.
How was the David Bowie experience? Speaking of singers,
Oh,
with
that
Pat.
was really great. I mean, I can tell the whole story with that. Okay, so we went out, and then we get to the studio, and David Bowie, he's at the door, answers the door, and he shakes our hand, goes, so hi, I'm Paul, hi, I'm David. So we tracked. And for some reason, David and I got along really well. And he told me I reminded him of Anthony Newley, who I didn't know, but that first record, that was his idol, I guess, Anthony
Mm,
Newley.
okay.
And so um, I remember, those cards that him and Brian Eno came up with?
No,
Oh,
I
you don't know those
don't
cards?
recall. No. Let me
Oh,
see.
okay. Let me hold on for 1 second.
I'll just check. Yeah.
Um, Yeah, oblique strategy, they're called. So
Okay.
David and I were having lunch, by the lake, and he starts bringing
Oh
out
yeah.
these cards to show me. And it said like, things like you would just throw it
Oh,
out when you
cool.
didn't have any ideas or you wanted a new idea, like, turn the bass up or, lose the vocal or whatever. And so I asked him if I could have them, but he said those were the only ones in existence. But then when he was doing his vocal, because a lot, it's really interesting how people like you do things, and then people don't credit you or don't say that you were involved. But when David was doing the vocal, Lyle and Pat especially saw that David and I communicated well, so they would tell me what to tell David.
Shit.
Now see, I mean, and I remember this vividly. I can see myself
That's
doing,
so fun. Yeah.
like if we needed to do another, take or something like that. And David was real open to that stuff. But that was a blast. And I just remember too that like we had been up for almost 2 days and we had to get home. Steve and I had to get home, and David bought us first class tickets on TWA, to fly home. And I remember they had wild boar. That's the days they had wild boar. But I was so exhausted. I slept through most of the flight. I think so did Steve. But David was great to work with. I mean, he didn't seem like a big star. I
Sure,
mean, he
yeah.
was not like weird at all or anything, you know. So that was great. But if I
Interesting.
ever write a book, because I even just saw something recently, like where Greg Bendian was talking about Sign of Four,
Yeah,
and his take on it was, it was accurate to a
yeah.
point,
I
but
talked about him
then I,
about
then
that.
I'm
Yeah,
going, wait a second. I mean, I did this record with him called Bang, and then I played Bang on a bullet train for Pat because Pat never heard that. So, but that story doesn't come into his story, So sometimes people like you go like, oh man, what about this? So that's the nice thing with David Becker. I mean, David gives me credit, I give him credit,
yeah.
where we kind of like know what's going on. It's not that you need credit, but sometimes the stories sometimes get twisted a little bit where you're almost like invisible. And part of your life is what you do behind the scenes as much as,
Sure.
in front of everyone. And when the stuff gets diminished, you're going like, wait a second, man. My contribution here, as I remember it, was this, and and that seems important to me. But then when it just gets like, yeah, someone doesn't mention it, you go, wait a second here. It's almost like being undermixed. I mean, the
For instance,
Matheny
yeah, yeah, yeah.
for me, I'm undermixed on those records, not on First Circle, but on the other ones, you know. The drums fit in beautifully, but I always thought of myself as kind of a jazz Keith Moon, you know. But like you hear me and everyone goes, I'm the happy cymbal guy, which is great. Now we can talk about my new signature flat
Yeah, I
ride, the
saw that. Yeah, yeah.
ride too, which is great. But I was playing a lot of stuff that was giving the energy to like Pat to play off of,
Of
but you
course,
couldn't
yeah.
hear it, you know. But again, man, I wouldn't trade my life for anybody's. It's been great,
I
but
think
it is weird.
musicians hear it, man. I mean, I hear it, like, or maybe like a
Well,
general jazz fan doesn't hear it. Like, okay,
well, you know what,
you know,
I put it in Moises, okay? Because like when I got Moises, I use it for transcribing
yeah.
and all that stuff. And when I put a lot of those drum tracks in there, Moises doesn't recognize it.
Interesting.
It just turns out to be like
Oh,
And I went, what? Are you kidding me? Whereas other stuff I've been on, you hear it and you can hear everything. So I think when the band got so thick with sequencers and percussion and other parts,
singing and everything. Yeah.
that the stuff just got kind of muddled in there.
Mm,
And which is, it was what it was, no problem. I mean, that music sold a lot of units, and a lot of people love those songs, and a lot of them are great compositions, and I was blessed to have a gig like that, but at the same time I was always frustrated. Like, I had people come
interesting.
up to
Wow.
me, everyone from like, a Bill Goodwin that played really like with Phil Woods really soft.
Sure, I love Bill. Yeah.
Yeah, but to Phil Rudd from AC/DC, coming up, and we were friends, and saying, "Man, I can only hear your cymbals live. I can't hear your snare drum." I'm like, wow. So I used to go to Pat's room sometimes and knock, saying, "Man, what is going on?"
Yeah.
But what can you do? That's just part of what it was.
The aesthetic, yeah, I guess was different. His aesthetic, what he thought the sound should be, and that's probably the
Well, what happened
main
though,
reason.
I might have told this story before, but when I played First Circle, for instance, you know, Pat loved it. And I was thrilled that he loved it. And then we went in and we did Still Life. Now we had a lot more time to do Still Life because we were on Geffen all of a sudden. But the drums were louder. And then before we went into master, we went into this smaller studio in the power station. I don't know if it
Mm,
was E or D, but the speakers enhanced the drums and made them really loud. And Pat kind of freaked out. And we went back into Studio A the next day and he brought everything down. And that was the start of that, you know.
interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, he was saying, "Oh man, we'll write a book on your parts." I mean, and I was so thrilled that he liked that stuff, But then it just got kind of buried, and as it went along, kind of got buried even more, you
Mm,
know. And it wasn't my band. I was a
sure,
member
sure.
of
Yeah, yeah,
that,
yeah.
and I mean. people can do whatever they want. But when I was trying to find the Kurt Elling thing, it's just a thing. I didn't remember. I haven't listened to that in years either. I was trying, I watched Lawrence's interview, and I was trying to find the name of the song, and I found it. And man, the playing on those records is great,
Oh, man.
and it sounds great too. That
Yeah.
was a Chicago studio that we used. Um, and
Yeah, you
it's
can
nice.
you can hear everything that you do on drums. I mean,
Yeah,
really,
well, see,
every
that's the
detail.
thing.
Yeah, every
Right.
detail.
And I mean, it's the same with the David Becker thing.
Yeah,
You can hear like
yeah,
everything. And I mean, why play it if you can't hear it? Well, if you can't hear it, it can be utilized for energy by the other people. But then if you can't hear it, then the audience is kind of getting a twisted version of where the energy is coming from, you know,
yeah,
if that
yeah.
makes sense.
But it does. But like also when I speak to people or I read stuff, I mean, not to diminish now like Danny or Antonio or the other guys which
They're
were part
great.
of the Pat Metheny group. They're all you guys are masters. But like everyone said, like you were the Pat Metheny group that was existed with you and Lyle, and that was the group actually that sounded. I mean that's what's the most successful records. I'll put it like that.
Yeah.
Are those in my eyes, and ears, and it makes sense in a way. It's really a group. Like The Road to You is such a record, for instance, and it's. I saw you guys live in 1995 in Treviso in Italy, and I was like, man, that was a fucking
But
amazing
man,
unit. It's like you guys were just like buff and drums, everything. That, so
no, absolutely. I mean, and yeah, but I've got like a bootleg of The Road to You where you can hear the drums, and it's a lot better than the Road to You because it sounds more like the way we sounded. And it's not like that the drums are loud; they're just present. You can just hear them. You can hear
yeah,
the interaction of the musicians
it's not
as
only
opposed
symbols in a
to.
way. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just not high cymbals. I mean, people are saying, "Oh, does Paul even have a right foot?" And I mean, it's like, man, what are you talking about, man?
true.
But that was, when you play what you're playing, but what's out front is at the mercy of the acoustics and the sound engineer and the PA and everything.
Yeah.
So those kind of things. I would never complain. I hope this doesn't sound like I'm complaining, but it was frustrating,
Oh, I
and
can believe so.
there's a
Yeah, sure.
difference. Yeah, when
Yeah.
people don't think that, you can do certain things. I remember I did a clinic in Chile one time at a concert, and when I was doing the clinic, I played some solo with the brushes, and then some guy, I mean, he goes, "Oh, uh, I was just going to ask you if you can play all the rudiments, but apparently you can." I'm going, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?" And so, the happy cymbal player, it was great to be known for anything. I mean, because if that's my identity, it's better to be known as a musical drummer than a drummer that plays too much or has bad time or is unmusical. But it was also a lot of the energy that I put into things just never came out. So I
Yeah.
feel like I
Yeah.
didn't get the credit, not personally, but credit musically for the ideas and interplay that were actually there, you know.
Yeah.
It's like a one-sided conversation in some ways, you know. But again, that stuff happens. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
oh, what happened here? So just went on. Yeah, so like, and that's life, But I mean, the fact of being in that band all those years and stuff, and now I think people now tell me more that that was the period that they liked because when I
Yeah.
first joined the band, Danny, everyone knew Danny, so the new guy. I think I wasn't as accepted at first. And then when I left, and then Antonio was there, all of a sudden Antonio was clearly had all these chops. So then people are like, oh yeah, he's so much better than Paul. But now all of a sudden now it's starting to go like, I guess I was okay. You know what I mean? And Danny and Antonio are both great drummers. They're
Sure.
different
Sure.
time periods for the group. Um, but I mean, what can I say, man? That's just the way it is. So that's why a lot of the new records I'm coming out with I'm really proud of them too because they
Yeah.
they have, I think, more of me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
like if you're in a band. not everybody can be 100% because then there's going to be, 700% if there's seven people, but your percentages can move around, and so for me I was usually down in the 10% all the time, where as opposed to sometimes contribute more and other people would take a step
Mm.
back.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I hear
in
you.
the
Yeah.
way I play, I am kind of I play the way I play. I always have. I think the way I think. I mean, drummers, all musicians, as a matter of fact, are a product of their personality, you know. And so some people think differently, and that's why they play differently, They just have a different take on stuff, which is I mean, that's an interesting way to look at stuff too. I mean, Duke Ellington is the one that said like the greatest compliment a musician can have is to have an identity of,
Yeah.
your sound,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, but I'm on hundreds and hundreds of records, and when I listen to them, I go, oh my God, who is this person? Because there's so many me's, and then when the music just played me, I just went in and I just played the music. I didn't come in with an agenda of this is me, that I always tune my snare drum a certain way or
Yeah, yeah.
always use the
Yeah.
same symbols. I play half the time. I don't bring anything. I just go and play whatever is there. And
Uh,
and that's
yeah.
to me that's fun. It it,
Yeah.
it makes it exciting.
I listened today to Tear It Up, the Simon and Bard group with with Ralph.
Yeah, with Ralph Towner, right? That's a funny
Oh
record.
man. That's a cool record actually. Uh, Especially with Ralph. Like, did Ralph come to play with you live that in the studio, or was
No,
that an
on that one, I
overdub?
think he overdubbed that
Overdub,
one.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
The Coryell one, the one before that, Mosaic,
yeah.
Larry Coryell, we did play that live
Oh,
together, and
okay.
that's how I started playing with him a lot, because we got
Oh
along
yeah,
really.
the Larry connection. Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, Fancy Frogs, I think was the name of the song. And that was we went in like after a gig. It was in the middle of nowhere in southern Illinois. I think we played in Champaign, Illinois, and then we went to some almost farmhouse out there, like, at 2 in the morning or whatever, and just laid down that track. That was a lot of fun. But when I listen to those things, I mean, I think on that I did have my own drum set because I had rototoms, and then the drums um, on the album You Can Tear It Up.
Yeah.
That's really funny because that's the same drum set I used that I played the first tour with Pat with. That
Really?
almost
Wow.
fell apart. Yeah, this Ludwig kit. But I had those Evans blue thick hydraulic heads on that. So all the drums kind of go blip 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 blip, which is really interesting. Um, yeah, it's a wild thing. I mean, I'm sitting on this Jocko thing that I did with him and a guitar player from '77, and that's the best sounding drums I ever did. This
Oh,
I played it for Felix Pastorius when I was in Denmark because he was doing the sound, and he couldn't believe how good Jocko sounds. So that was like 48 years ago, but I haven't released that yet.
what's the band? Who's the band?
It was a great guitar player, Ross Trout.
Ross Stroud, sure. I mean, he played
Yeah,
with
and
Paul, with my friend
yeah,
Paul
and
McCandless and
yeah,
all
and,
those guys.
and
Yeah.
Jocko, and then me.
A trio.
Yeah, it was just a
Oh
trio. We were
man.
one afternoon. Ross called me. I was
Oh
playing with
shit,
Ross
man.
and his band, and Jocko was in town. He knew Jocko from University of Miami, and so I've got a tape of it.
Oh man,
'Cause
you
they
should
asked
release that somehow.
I know, I know, but
It's
I'm just
just
waiting, to do it everything the right way.
yeah,
And then
just
the thing with
yeah.
Lyle, I've got there were 2 years where he played at the Green Mill with me in my quintet and sextet,
Oh man.
and they recorded to Nagra with the AKG 414s because Ken Christensen recorded it, and it's incredible. I mean, the band, it's like a hard bop band and or net band, and the problem was the way the sound was. Lyle was too soft. And for years, I tried to figure out how I could release it, changing the EQ, but that messed up everything else. I put it in Moises.ai. I turned Ken onto it too, raised him, kind of panned him to the left, lowered everything else, and it sounds unbelievable. This is some of the
Oh,
best Lyle stuff. I mean, it's songs by, like Ornette, or we do like Passion Dance by McCoy Tyner. We do some originals by Eric Hochberg, who wrote these great hard
sure, yeah.
bop
You're a
tunes.
great player,
So I'm sitting on all these things,
yeah.
you know.
Man, come on. We need,
I know. At 72, I should probably do it before it
not
gets
just
too.
because, it's all these amazing players that you've played with, and like any record you get with Jocko that's unreleased, that's like, man, shit, we want to hear that, It's
Oh,
like,
I know. And this is, well, I mean, Felix told me this is
or
the best
Lyle, I don't
Jocko.
know.
Yeah, but Jocko was, he was in town with Herbie at the time.
I didn't know
So
you played with Jocko. Oh, okay.
yeah, and I
Yeah,
mean, his bass was in everything was like fantastic. His sound, bass was
yeah,
in good condition. The recording engineer. I mean, it's real interesting trying to be like a detective when you find these things and tracing everything down. But there's all kind of stuff like that, man. I mean, it's wild to go into your basement and just find all these tapes, you know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, imagine it like going into Herbie's basement or
Oh,
someone like that.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, wow, shit, what is this? Like,
Well,
duo
Pat
session with
too.
Miles or Pat's, or yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah, because Pat used to record every night.
oh man, that's
Yeah, I mean, like, could you imagine like some of the nights that he has? Some were incredible, like, way better than what's on record, and some
probably.
probably weren't that good too.
Yeah,
So, yeah. But
yeah, I would love to hear some of that stuff, man. I mean, probably everyone like the stuff you mentioned now. I mean,
yeah,
you should get it out somehow.
I know. I eventually hopefully will.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but like the new records, I mean, this thing with, Fareed Haq and Larry Gray, that's going to be good. Larry
Looking
Gray and I
forward. Looking forward. Yeah.
recorded a duo record many years ago in my basement, just live to two track. And I'm going to put that out because I just talked to Larry. He goes, man, just put that out because we did that in the 90s or something. And then I did a record with Frank Russell, great bass player, and that's with Lady Smith Black Mambazo. And that has all these great players on there, Howard Levy and
Oh, cool. Sure.
like it's like sort of like Chicago All-Star type of thing. Because we have that band Windy City Electric that's a really cool band. And then what John Molder's got a new record that'll
Oh,
hopefully be
beautiful.
out
Fantastic.
soon. Yeah,
Love
so
John's playing, man. Yeah,
yeah, he's writing great stuff as he
great player.
always. And so, it's funny to be sitting and Word of Cocaine Gray, we have some stuff that we haven't released. But I'm so busy that's what happens. It's like you end up like, because I want to have a life too. I mean, my wife
Oh,
and
of
I
course.
watch television sometimes at night. Like, I'm not going to feel guilty just getting away from responsibilities.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you just want to enjoy and breathe and be with your loved ones and take it easy.
Absolutely, man. I asked you once. I mean, sometimes I mentioned this in talks. Like, Jerome Harris, right? The bass player who
Sure,
played with Dijonette. And I asked
sure.
him, like, he did two amazing records in the beginning of the '90s as a band leader, right?
Uh,
And we did this talk like 3 years ago, and I was like, man, Jerome, how come you're not band leading anymore? And he gave the most amazing answer. He was like, first of all, I'm a human being, then I'm a father, then I'm a husband, and I'm also a musician. I was like, yeah, man, okay. That's the answer. It's like all that stuff is amazing, but yeah, like you said, you still have to, you want to drink your whiskey and relax and or watch a movie or whatever.
Absolutely. I
That's
mean, I totally agree with that lineage too, because my family comes first. I mean,
absolutely,
I
yeah.
I love playing, I love teaching, but that's why I stayed home, from the birth of my daughter, that's, rather than like, when they were going to go to Korea, I
Yeah, I
stayed home.
remember, yeah, you told me, yeah.
Yeah. So, to me, family is first. And, then when you see your loved ones do well, you feel like, it's all worthwhile,
Yeah,
because I just never could figure out how musicians just, they just left their family, and just, I get I'm not judging it. It's just I can't see doing that,
so many
and
players out there that we mentioned today as well. Like, I will not name, but they're like on the road 330 days or still like it's insane. I mean, if you like it, I guess it's cool, but that's crazy. It's
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's to each his own, I guess,
yeah,
and
yeah, I guess if you like it,
it's hard to judge, but for me, the balance of life is really what's important,
yeah,
just like the balance of sound, you know what I mean, what we're talking about. So,
absolutely.
everything is maintaining something where, you have to prioritize certain things that are important, and that's with everything,
Yeah,
including music and business and all those
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And then, I this is great to touch base with you, man. I mean, seriously, I see
yeah.
you've been interviewing so many people. It's really great.
I love this, man. It's so much fun to talk some of these guys. And my wife asked me the other day, like, how many have you done? Like, how many are there still? I was like, shit, the list is still so
Oh
long.
yeah, it's going to be endless.
It's endless. It just keeps adding, and like because there's so many players, like behind the band leaders. I want to talk to those guys as well, like like the drummers and the bassists and everyone wants to talk with Pat and Brad Melda or whatever, the giant, but it's nice to talk with some others as well who are not Brad or Pat, but like are equally, like you said, important in the music, and
Sure.
that's
Well, I
that's
remember Larry Coryell talking about like that he liked Hendrix, obviously loved Hendrix,
sure.
but thought that Mitch Mitchell and Noel Redding were just as important.
Mitch,
Yeah.
man,
But also Noel. I
no,
mean,
also, yeah,
yeah, I mean, when Billy Cox got it, it turned into like a different feel.
completely,
But
yeah, yeah,
the experience, that trio was amazing. And so, sometimes people, I guess, they want to think that everyone individually has to be important and impressive and stuff. But no, I mean, Noel didn't really play anything fancy.
no,
The way he played with Noel and the way, or the way he played with Mitch and the sound that he got with Hendrix and stuff was fantastic. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
so it was a different concept. So I guess that goes back to, I guess, what you say about the Matheny stuff. I mean,
It's like
things that I,
Steve, let's say Steve on bass, right? He's not playing any, fancy solos or slapping or whatever incredible Eddie Gomez fast stuff, but he's like, you know, it's the group. If you replace Steve with someone else, it's like the band sound is gone. And
sure, yeah. I mean, he
you know,
played in time, in tune, the right
oh man,
notes,
that's
you know. Plus musically, just, with producing the stuff, and he's got
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
great ears and stuff. That's why it was fun to play with him and Niels uh, last July or this
Did you guys
July.
record something, by the way?
We didn't officially
Okay,
record anything. No, I mean, the only thing we filmed, and it was me and Felix, but we were actually overdubbing because I got really sick. It was so
okay,
weird. I'm glad no one else got sick, but for some reason, man, I must have got something on the plane, and like after the first night, I barely had a voice, and so the whole stay there, I was like sounded like I had throat cancer or something, And on our one day off, they had this tune called "Swim Good," and they wanted let's see who Lenny White played drums on that cut, and I forgot who the bass player was, but they wanted to do a video, so they asked me if I would play on it, and then Felix played. So we were lip syncing, really funny, but and the video is beautiful because Niels's fiance is a great filmmaker. But I was dying when we were doing this, man. My eyes were like crusting shut, and I was thinking, I'm going to look so terrible on this because I also found out that I was allergic to what was in the apartment, this
very good.
down, whatever they had. I was like, so I was really those 2 weeks were fantastic, but I was really not healthy, which is really rare because I'm always healthy. But whatever I got, man, was really a drag. It lasted about 3 weeks. Even when I got home, lasted about a week and a half. But that's the only thing we recorded. The alto sax player, she played soprano too. She was from Poland. She did like some records or recordings on her iPhone
Mm,
on the stage, but it was interesting to hear just as far as, how we were playing together and stuff, but the quality,
yeah,
it's like
sure.
64-bit, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there, but hopefully, if I do the thing with Niels and his brother Chris that month, hopefully we'll go in and we'll record like a whole
beautiful.
record. That would be
Yeah,
great, you
yeah,
know.
love those guys.
But I want to talk about my cymbals though, because that has been always a dream of to get my cymbals out there. You know about that, right? The
Yeah, yeah,
Wertico.
send me a pic. Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
what
that.
did have you heard? Well, you heard him on that record
Sure.
and
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Arbinico
Yeah.
record
Yeah. Yeah.
too. So that's a real thrill to finally have a signature Flat Ride series, you
About
know.
time, right? I mean, that's the ride.
It's
So
yeah, man,
about
it's
time.
like
Yep.
gosh, took decades to finally get it out there. But Dream Symbols has been great to work with, and hopefully we'll have other ones too, different models and stuff. I know we did an 18-inch as well as a 20 and 22,
Hmm.
but that hasn't been released to the public yet. I think we're just kind of sitting on it right now. But yeah, so it's funny. I just feel as I guess fortunate as ever to still be doing all this stuff at this age, But I
Absolutely.
stay healthy, keep my I'm like at 145 weight wise. I get up and I do hundreds of push-ups and crunches every day and eat healthy
You have to
because
do it.
that's an
Yeah.
important thing too.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's weird to see Facebook every day and people are just dropping off like flies, man.
That's insane. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. It
It's
is.
crazy. Yeah.
I mean Ringo, I guess he's 85 now, so he's hanging in there. And Roy Haynes,
Yeah.
well, he was 98 when he died, and Marshall Allen, the alto player with Sunrise, he's like 101,
Yeah.
and he released his first solo record. So, so there is hope, it's really funny to think about. But then you see all these other guys and girls, like aged
Sure.
60s and stuff. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
But we're all on a conveyor belt of time in a way.
Yeah.
So it's never know
Yeah.
when it's gonna drop off.
Yeah. We should just, the Romans knew it, carpe diem, just enjoy it as long as we can. And,
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what we were saying earlier, like even
so,
with Jerome Harris, that you got to enjoy
yeah.
your life too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I was just reading something recently, like, where in Western civilizations we're taught to make money and be productive and all stuff. And then, in sort of native indigenous people, they were just enjoy nature and be
Living.
one
Yeah.
with the planet and
Yeah.
I mean, but
Yeah. It's
that,
different. Yeah.
but what do you think is going to happen with AI?
I don't know, man. I mean, I know already like a friend of mine who made like a really good living from making commercials for, like car companies or whatever. He basically lost the job because
Yeah.
like now, they go to whatever free app and they just say like make this and they download it for free.
Yep.
So I mean, like creative music will never be stopped. Like, this it will never replace a live jazz gig or a live impro or whatever. But for some other practical reasons, like I think airlines, I don't think they will play jazz records and pay their publishing rights since they can just make a playlist like on AI, like and stuff like. I think certain things it makes things good, like you said, for mixing and for whatever or but like certain aspects are like a bit, yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know.
as far as I know, 100% AI material can't be copyrighted. So that's
Isn't
at
it?
least,
It's still a gray zone
yeah. But the
because
thing is, you're right. I mean, music that can, even film scores or something. You say, I mean, one of the things I showed my class, I went into like Suno,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I just went, okay, my dog thinks it's a cat, and within a second, it wrote 4 songs with
yeah,
lyrics, and
it's crazy.
some of the lyrics were stupid, but then once in a while there'd be like one line that you go, ah, so you could almost use that line to write your own
Which
stuff.
is not bad. That's okay.
Oh, no,
That's
yeah,
okay.
well,
That's
because
fine. Yeah,
everyone steals. I mean, Pablo Picasso said, good artists borrow, great artists
sure.
steal.
Yeah,
So, but it makes you think about like who we are. Because, all my students mostly were like, yeah, but no one can replace human beings. And you start thinking, well, what are human beings other than, if, and to get away from the spiritual,
sure.
aspect or anything like that. I mean, we are kind of like computers. I mean, you're a brain, on a spinal cord, and you get a personality and you remember things, and then you borrow things, and you become whatever your personality and your morals are and stuff. And AI has taken all that stuff and
Yep.
made it into a computer thing. So it's like, are computers going to be the next humans, you know? I mean, and that what are they going to be replaced with then later on? I mean, who knows? But it really makes you think about what human beings are. And because, some students would say, yeah, but I can't write a love song. Well, what is a love song though? Because I mean, a love song, you're trying to reach and tell your story, and there's emotional buttons that are pushed by certain words.
Yep.
If you talk about loneliness, everyone could go, I know what loneliness is. What is love? Well, I think I know what love is. I think what happiness is, blah, blah, blah. So the machine just cranks it out.
Oh, sure.
And then,
Yeah.
it'd be really interesting, like if people did not know that they were listening to an AI song, if they would know it's an AI song, if they would like it or not. And in fact, I mean, a lot of the AI stuff now sounds like pop stuff now.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
of them,
Oh, it's the same now.
it's all fake anyway.
It's
It's
nothing
all,
new. It's just recreating some bullshit, But
yeah.
yeah,
So I mean, but it's a weird thing to think about it replacing jobs, because people have to eat, they have to live, they have to somehow pay the bills.
yeah,
And if you do take away a job of someone else, hopefully they can maybe find another job, either doing that, or else maybe that profession is becoming obsolete in a
I would say
way,
so.
and
Yeah,
then they have to grow and find something new.
yeah.
I just saw that Amazon is got, like, they're replacing, like, I don't know, 20,000 jobs or something with robots or something,
Wow, man, that's
Yeah. So, and then, driverless cars, they're going to be driverless trucks and driverless
it's all
trains.
about the money in the end. That's
Well,
the
it
problem.
is.
So,
It's all about the money.
so
And as long as it's about that, it's the same thing with music too. You
yeah,
know what I mean? It's
it's like
like,
Spotify's and all these streaming shit, and it's like, I mean, in the end, we in the creative scene, we don't get anything, right? I mean,
right.
unless
And
you're
we
a
never,
Taylor Swift
I
or
don't know
whatever.
if we ever did though. I mean,
Probably
if you
true. Yeah,
think about, blues musicians,
yeah,
getting ripped off when they do a record, and they wouldn't get any publishing or writing credits, maybe get paid with a few bucks or some,
yeah.
some alcohol or something. The early jazz guys, but the early rock guys, you read about like Cream and that, a lot of those
Yeah.
guys, some of them were, did well, but some of them were really taken advantage of by the record labels, by the management.
The
That's why
Stones were the same. Uh,
who?
the Stones,
Yeah.
like I think after two or three records, I watched the documentary the other day, and they said like, we did well, we had fans, but we were broke basically still because like, where was the money, Like so,
Yeah, no,
it's
all of them. The Who, though, I think the Who
yeah, the
didn't,
Who, yeah,
you
yeah,
know, the band Chicago, I know Danny
sure,
Serafin, he gave me his book. And when I was reading that book, it was like after, I think, their second record or something, they went into and they said, like, where's our money? And they go, well, you still owe money, it's like, what? And so, well, artists, I mean, that's the one thing. I mean, I taught a music business class, and the music business class is always changing,
yeah,
but it's stacked against the musicians. It's really, because the business is the music business as opposed to the musical artistic aspect of it.
yeah.
And what was the W.C. Fields statement? Never give a sucker an even break, you know, which was, it's horrible to say, but that's,
Yeah.
if you go in and you give it up, then if someone's only care about money and power, they're not going to usually give you a break. They're going to say,
Absolutely.
okay, fine, I can use this person too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's a funny period. I think it's like it's really cool, but on the other hand, it's like I don't know. I still I feel I'm getting old, but I'm not old really.
how old are you?
I'm 47, but for me it's still like I remember I'm talking to students like my parents gave me money for lunch, and it was CD times, and instead of eating the whole week when going to high school, I was saving up just to buy a new CD by Pat or Mike Stern or John Scofield, and I would wear out that CD and that's, read the liner notes, look at the small pics.
Right. Right.
and that was so romantic, you know. I still put on those CDs actually, which are 30 years old now, and I
Well,
think
CDs
nowadays
sound
this is
better.
gone. The romance of experience a record is gone. You know what I mean? Like, or even with you guys had LPs. It's I
Well,
don't know.
CDs sound great, man. If you have a good
Yeah.
system and you have a good
Oh,
CD player, I mean, it's just, the imaging of the sound is amazing. And I
absolutely.
just went the other day, I was at school and I had some time in the afternoon. I went to a used record store, used CD store, and I bought a bunch of CDs, you know,
I
and
still do
a
that,
lot
yeah,
of them
as
were
well.
like they were like $3, when they used to be like $16 and $20, and they were all perfectly in good shape, So I said, well, okay, I've got LPs of some of those, but I don't want to wear out my LPs. And then when I put the CDs on, like Peter Gabriel's So, I put on
Ooh,
that. And it
yeah,
was like, oh my God. Or there was a band called Mother's Finest, which was a band out of Atlanta. Incredible, incredibly funky, like heavy funk band. And I put that on because I've got the LP, but man, I listened to it, I was, oh my God, this is just so stunning. And people were in there buying CDs and buying LPs, but most of them were used,
yeah,
you know. And the used records, I mean, God, they were going for like, $60 and stuff,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
crazy. People used to buy those for $3. And so it's the opposite. Like people buy this, they used to buy CDs for like $16.
it's
Now they can
insane.
get them for three. And now the records you used to buy them for three, and now you can get 60. It's really nuts how
Yeah,
this has turned around.
it's
But a
turned. Yeah,
lot of people do want to get back to that holding it in their hand kind of thing,
I like
which
that. I
I
mean, yeah,
totally understand.
yeah,
But, that's one reason I think music is dying a little bit in some ways is because all that stuff when you master things and you care about every detail of the imaging and the sound balance, and if people just have those little white,
it's gone. Yeah,
yeah, all they hear is the sound. They don't, or the song, they don't hear the sound. They're not living inside the music.
yeah.
But that doesn't mean that, we have to give up what
No,
we're
no,
doing.
absolutely. You do it for yourself as well, right? I mean,
Oh,
to have a good
absolutely.
feeling. So
Well, in
that's
a lot of
that's
ways, probably most of the music I make now is for myself and whoever I'm making it
yeah,
with. We're not concerned about sales. We're not concerned,
yeah,
we want to get it out to the public because we think the public should hear it. But, you know, the idea of that is not to show, oh, look how great we are. It's just something like, man, we want to share this. We love what we're doing. Hopefully you'll love it too.
yeah,
And that's pretty much most music, unless it's just purely made for commercial reasons, and that's just to sell enough to make money.
yeah.
But in general, people make music. I love rock. I love pop music. Not pop like now as much, but those bands. I mean, whether it was the Beatles, I was always a Beatles fan. I always thought Ringo was an incredible drummer.
Absolutely, man.
You know, and I loved
Absolutely.
his ideas. I loved his grooves. I loved his sound. And I was still talking with jazz musicians that were laughing at Ringo, going, "Oh, he can't play. All these guys, they're nothing. They'll be gone. You know, There's a bunch of cute little guys that are just making money. And it's like, no, you know.
Yeah,
And a lot of the people that said that, they never did anything. You know what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah,
They never made an impact on the world. Even when their music was available, it never spoke to the people.
yeah,
So, hopefully the music you make at least speaks to the target audience that will
absolutely. Yeah.
understand it and get it. Because we're definitely in the small percentage. You think about jazz and classical music in general, it's like, I think, isn't it like each one of them is like 1.5% of the
Yeah, yeah,
market?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like minuscule
It's
and probably getting smaller as we speak,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
because jazz, there was a reason. See, I teach a lot of jazz history courses and rock history courses and stuff. And that music was made for a reason because they were experimenting, they were breaking new ground. Now a lot of it is just, younger people that play great, they have tons of chops, but it's almost like it's classical music
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
So the vibe, the scene, hanging out in clubs, it used to be a cultural, social experience. Now, when you hear it in a hall a concert hall, it can be good, but where's the hang? Where's the
It's not the
reason
same. Yep.
this other
Yep.
than to go, oh, you guys play really well, good for you, you know? Because I've got some amazing students, and there is a good scene here in Chicago, you know, and I don't go to a lot of it because again, I'm not going to hang out as much because I just don't have the time but they're always going to jam sessions, they're always hanging out, and they play really great. I mean, I've got, a number of kids that are going to be like, wow, they're going to be out there doing it. And I just hope that they'll be able to do it.
Able. Yep. That's
Yeah.
yeah. True.
It's tenacity. It's the damn the torpedoes kind of thing. I'm just going straight ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And because your
Absolutely.
parents, I know if my parents were like, well, when are you going to get a real job? They supported my music that they loved because they saw how that I loved it and that I seemed to be good at it. But most parents are like, well, yeah, but get a real job. But those real jobs don't last anymore
Ex
either.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
job, the old days of having a job for 50 years and getting a gold watch when you retire. Now, you could work for a corporation for a couple years and then all of a sudden,
You're not.
think
Yeah.
you're gone.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So I always tell even the parents, that, the students should, if they really have a passion for it, they should do it because for one thing, the improvisational aspect of this music lets you improvise through life because life is an improvisation. It's you've always got to maneuver through new things,
Yep.
and so if you expect things to always be the same, you might be in trouble a lot more times than not. And then the other thing is that why not enjoy your life when you're young and playing stuff with your friends and everything because you never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
So I think
Absolutely.
it's so important.
Yeah. Yeah. But man, I wanted to ask you, like I mentioned in the email, one thing. Uh, what are your top three records? Like, I don't know if you thought about it, like, but
No, I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
oh yeah, I kind of I feel bad that I didn't ask musicians before that, jazz musicians. Like, what would be like your top three, top five jazz records, or not even jazz, like that you would say like shit, I still return to those, or
Boy, yeah, I didn't see that. Otherwise, I probably would have thought about it a little bit more, even though I really, never answer those kind of questions about anything. Like someone says your top drummers, your
or
top.
like it can be top 30, like, but what would be some like that you said? I mean, I know for myself, like there are some records that I always return to, like.
What? I mean, like,
Well, let's say, Schofield's Time on My Hands or Abercrombie or like, Miles is Kind of Blue. I still always go there. Like, or I never go to Mahavishnu Orchestra, for instance, myself. I just don't. Like,
hmm,
it's always other aesthetic or Garbarik's or like, Ralph Towner
ECM-ish,
with
ECM-ish
Garbarik or,
stuff. Right, ECM stuff.
yeah.
Well, I love the ECM stuff. I love the Blue Note and Impulse things a
Hmm.
lot. you know. So, whether it's Coltrane or like some of the things, um, yeah, boy, because thinking I have a lot of records just have like one thing that I like about it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I love melodies. So that's the one thing, I like melodies and I like harmonies. It's weird. Again, rhythms are great, but I've always, I love lyrics. I love singing along with stuff. And I find myself now listening a lot more to like rock and, records from that era than listening to jazz because I used to listen and play along with jazz all the time, but I kind of understand it now, you know what I mean? So when I listen for music now, it's almost I feel like I'm almost like a layman. I want to hear stuff that I want to listen to.
I'm the same almost, yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does. I'm
I'm not
listening
going
to Peter Gabriel all the time now these days. I don't know. I
right.
mean, and so it's yeah, I hear you. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And then um again I like hearing the sound of stuff too, either the individuals sound that their instruments, but also mixes what the record sounds like a lot of times really matters too. If I can get inside the music and around and through, it's almost like you're walking inside the
Yeah.
record or the CD. I kind of look for that. But I mean, what I played lately? I mean, I played um, well the stuff I bought at the CD store. I bought um, hold on. These are the ones I bought. It's pretty interesting. So I bought, So by Peter Gabriel,
Yeah.
and then Mother's Finest, another Mother Further, which is great. ZZ Top's Greatest
Oh
Hits.
man.
I bought 10 Years After,
Wow, really? Wow.
Essential 10 Years After, Steppenwolf's Greatest Hits, U2 Best of 1980 to 90, and then the Carpenters Complete Singles.
Wow. I love it.
Is that weird?
That's amazing, man.
And then yesterday I was working on stuff. I was listening to Blue Cheer, Outside Inside, which I loved, and I listened to Nas, the band Nas.
Yeah.
I love that band. I love Tom Mooney's drumming.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I'll put on, is stuff like that. I listened to Mountain the other day, you know,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah, it's wild to think about. And
Yeah.
then I can hear why I like those songs. I can hear stuff, um, one of the bands that I bought, I can hear the timing glitches in the drumming, which is always interesting. It's stuff you didn't really realize as much when you were younger, but you go,
Of
ooh,
course. Yeah.
that kind of got a little hiccuped right there. But that's actually charming. I wonder
Absolutely. Yeah.
if AI, if you said, okay, I want to have a band sound like this band, um, but I want the the feel to be a little bit, you know,
Tighter or
yeah, a
loose
little looser. I
or
want,
loose. Yeah.
yeah, I wonder if it'll do that because I know there are things. I used to work with PC Drummer. There was a guy, Paulo Ozula. He stopped making it, but in the program, you could take it and then you could have it, from 100% quantized to
Oh yeah.
less,
Sure.
which was always fun. You can change the swing, you can change, to make it sound more human. You could make it sound like a drunk guy, which is funny. So I wonder, yeah, if you put, like Beatles band drunk drummer, yeah, I wonder what it would do. I wonder if it would mess it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It would sound like Ginger Baker. No, I'm kidding.
Maybe, maybe.
No, I'm kidding.
But the drummers I love. Okay, so let's talk about some of the drummers. I loved Robert Wyatt from the Soft Machine,
Sure.
Michael Giles from King Crimson. I loved Paul Whaley from Blue Cheer, Clive Bunker from Jethro Tull. Um, then, of course, I mean, Ginger Baker, Mitch Mitchell,
Yeah, all
Keith.
those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and John Bonham, not as much, as the other three guys.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting because I liked his playing, but um, I kind of liked the guys that were a little bit wilder. I mean, John laid down stuff really well. He had a great feel, obviously,
Yeah.
great. But yes, some of that stuff. And then drum wise, still Roy Haynes and Elvin,
Sure.
obviously. But then, Art Blakey. But then there's other drummers like Bob Moran, Robert Moran, that no one hardly knows, but there's a couple records that I just love his playing on. Then actually he's dead, but I became friends online with his son. Once his son saw that I credit him as like one of my influences.
Mm.
You know? So there's guys like that. Oh, the band Silver Apples. You know the band Silver
No,
Apples?
no.
Oh my
Check it out.
God.
Okay,
It
I'll
was a
check it out. I'll
duo.
write it down.
It was a duo. There was a guy called Simeon and Danny Thompson, I think, was the drummer. And it's the craziest stuff you've ever heard, man.
Cool. I'll check
I
it out.
mean, yeah, check it out because they did a couple records, and their second record, it was so funny. It shows them in a cockpit of a Pan Am record, or Pan Am thing, and there's it's like a thing like a symbol for drugs or something hanging down. But what got them in trouble is on the others, because the cover is colored. On the back side, it shows them in a black and white photo superimposed on a crash site. So Pan Am sued them, sued Cap Records, their
Oh
label,
shit, man.
put
Wow.
them out of business. So they were kind of invisible for a while. But the first two records, one called Silver Apples and the second one I'm talking about called Contact, are incredible.
Wow.
Because
Cool.
Danny Taylor is playing these things, these polyrhythms, these mixed. I mean, his playing is just astoundingly ahead of time. And there was talk, I guess, that he is to jam with Hendrix, that Hendrix asked him to go to England. I don't know if
Mm,
that's true, but and Simeon made up these modules that he would almost like theremins that he's playing, and then he sings these incredibly weird songs. He also plays banjo too.
wow.
Yeah,
Check it out.
yeah, it's on YouTube. But that band, but they were Mayor John Lindsay of New York. They were his favorite band, so they had which is really wild to think
Wow.
about, you know. But I used to find those records for like, you know, 15 cents. You'd go to
Sure.
like,
Yep.
a department store that was blowing out cutouts of records and just buy up everything, you know. Yeah.
I did
So
the
that
same, yeah.
I know, isn't that funny?
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
now, I mean, regular stores don't carry much stuff like
No,
that.
no,
Well,
it's
there
gone.
used to be an A&P store in Cary, Illinois, where I used to live, and they had records, and that's where I first bought the first Hendrix record. I didn't, first Cream record. I didn't know who Cream was. I look at it, it looks kind of cool. I turn around, and it says Ginger Baker, undoubtedly European, one of Europe's best drummers or something. I went, oh, I'm buying this. Freak Out by Frank Zappa. What is this? I'm buying that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's another band I loved was the band If.
Don't,
The
also
band.
don't know. I'll check it out.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, If. It was a horn band out of England.
Yeah.
The drummer was Dennis Elliott, who went on to be with Foreigner.
Oh,
And
okay.
and the first three
Yeah.
records of that band is incredible. So
Cool.
If one, If two, and If three, really, really, way ahead of their time, and two
Interesting.
sax players. They didn't use brass.
Wow.
Great rhythm section stuff. I mean, really great singer. Um, yeah. But then there's all these, the band Dreams,
Yeah,
that band?
sure. Oh man, I love them.
Yeah,
Wow.
you knew them. Compost,
I
that
mean,
band.
oh sure. Moses told
Yes,
me about those. Yeah.
right. Because those were on big labels. They were on Columbia,
Yeah,
some
yeah.
of them.
And
But
Dreams
some of
is
these other
amazing.
bands,
Abercrombie and on those records, man. Woo.
yeah, yeah. But then there's other bands, I mean, that just, never got their breaks.
Sure.
It's so weird to think about.
A lot
But
of music. Yeah.
and then all the avant-garde records, a lot of the stuff that I used to listen to and get inspired by, they were on like ESP record label, which was some small label. I think the guy supposedly sold them out of his car trunk and stuff, you know, you know. Yeah, it's a weird thing to think that how lucky we were to be exposed to any of that
Yep.
stuff.
Yep. Yep.
And when I was in high school, I mean, a friend would, we had, friends would buy LPs. So all of a sudden you get turned on to something like Free. All of a sudden someone had a Free album. You go, oh my God. Or Black Sabbath's first record, or all and you'd play it for each other, and you'd get it. And same with jazz. All of a sudden, there'd be a new Ornette Coleman record, or even a Ken Nordine record. Before I played with Ken, I mean, all of a sudden, a friend of mine turned me on to Ken Nordine and word jazz,
Mm,
and yeah, and but I remember buying Deep Purple's first record. I mean, they, all that
sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. So I don't know, being at this age, I'm not sure if kids share the same listening experiences the same way or not. I'm sure they don't do it with hard copy material, but they might share links to YouTube or
Probably.
Spotify.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. It's different, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they sit around and listen to it all at the same time together.
No. Yeah.
But that was part of the experience is listening and oh, check that out again, wearing the record out almost,
Sure.
going
Yeah.
back and listen to Miles Smiles or going back to, that kind of stuff and you go, man, like, what is this? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
man, oh man.
Absolutely.
Well, you and I are really lucky, man. And everybody you've talked to is lucky. Lawrence is great.
Yeah.
I mean, we were supposed to do something together with a really good vibe player from Hungary, but I don't know if that's going to happen, or it's not. Nothing is concrete yet. But there's a lot of people wanting me to do things. Somebody who wants me to do something with John Etheridge.
Really? Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, and I've talked to John. I mean, because that would be a blast to play with him.
Yeah, he's
So
a
it's
great
a
player.
matter of a lot of this stuff just kind of coming to fruition, you know, because sometimes things either get double booked, or I'm not available, or someone's not available, or like you're saying, there's not enough money to be able to do
Yeah,
like
but
all.
you should let me. I mean, after we finish, we should talk. Maybe we can do something in fall 26. Then if you give me a week that you could, or something,
Yeah, I mean,
so far
it's
ahead, then
okay
I
for
can maybe
me.
try again. So.
It's okay for me to take a week off of school. I mean, or 2 weeks. I mean, because this fall semester, the second week, I was gone to Italy.
Oh
I
yeah,
played with
yeah,
a piano player I'd never played with, Riccardo Agrahini, and John Marco Scaglia, the bass player I play
yeah,
with.
yeah, yeah. Sure.
And we did, 6 nights, so just one nighters,
Yeah.
and it was great. And I taught my students via Zoom,
Oh yeah,
which
it works.
but
Yeah,
it was
sure.
crazy. I mean, literally the last day before I flew home. Okay, this is, I'm dedicated to teaching. We were in Andrea, which is the very bottom of Italy. And so that was on Sunday. We played. It was incredible. We played outside. There was not only a full moon, but it was the lunar eclipse. So here I am playing, all the filled, people went nuts. And then we had a really early flight, so we had to get up at like 4 or something, get to the airport, which was a couple miles away, or a couple hours away actually, fly to Pisa, pick up the cars, go to Valdarno where the hotel was, okay? And so by the time we got to the hotel, it was like 2:30 or 3 o'clock. And then we at 5:30, I had to be at the venue. So Gianmarco picks me up. The reason we had to be at the venue at 5:30 is because I needed to, there were drums, but I needed to set up, get everything ready. Because from 6 to 7, I taught a Zoom class. Then from 7 to 7:30, we did the sound check. Then from 7:30 to 8:30, I taught another Zoom class.
Oh man.
8:30 to 9:30, we had a quick dinner, great restaurant. Then we played the concert. So we were done by 11 or whatever. By the time I got to bed, it was like 1. I had to leave at like 3:30, and Gianmarco drove me to Rome airport, which was, like 4 hours away, to catch my flight home. How crazy is that?
That's yeah. That's like you're 23 or something.
I know. And then not next week, but the week when I'm going back to Italy. So on November 3rd, that Monday, I asked if I could teach from Milan. So they said, no, don't worry about it. You can teach there. And they booked me a late evening flight to Milan. So then the 4th, I'll be there, on that Tuesday, I'll probably be rehearsing. On that Wednesday, I'll be rehearsing, but then I've got a class that I'm going to have to teach, you know, via Zoom, I mean, so
It
that's
works,
what I
yeah,
do. And then I fly
yeah.
home on Saturday. It's crazy.
Amazing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because I feel bad. I don't want to, just tell students,
sure.
just, you know, you
Yeah,
know, whatever, To me, I want to see them see me, that I'm dedicated to not only
taking effort,
playing,
yeah.
but I'm dedicated to teaching them too.
Yeah,
We-
absolutely.
Hopefully we set by example as much as we can.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Beautiful, man.
Yes. So to get back to your question, yeah, I mean, going away for a week or something next fall would not be a problem.
Yeah, let's try. I'll talk with Arnold, and will be so nice to play with this trio, I think, because it can be so, Arnold has so many tunes. I played of many of his tunes that are so open,
Yeah,
kind of ornette vibe, and you would be perfect for that. It's just like
sure. That's what I love.
like so good. It's just like this unisono lines, and then you're just Then you're in for the ride, and it's like, woo.
I've got tunes like that too.
Yeah, I
So
love that. It's just like
yeah.
playing and listening, and
Yeah, and it's people, the audiences, they might not know the songs, but they can kind
ah,
of
they
tell
feel
that
the
they
energy.
it's just
Oh
yeah,
man,
but it's a launching point off to like
yeah,
different territory. So each tune has like a different, like going to different countries for each tune,
absolutely, absolutely,
and where you can sample different food and different wines, and
absolutely.
because that's what music really is. It's just sound,
Yeah,
you know, sound waves, but they're all different, and the sounds are what make it sound different. I mean,
yeah,
a C note on a piano and a C note on a guitar, there's still a C, but they sound differently. They have a
oh,
different, and like so everything is just the quality of the sound and the timbres
absolutely.
that give it that uniqueness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah. So that would be great if we could do that.
yeah. Well, let's find a period. I'll send you an email, and maybe I'll send Arnold, and let's see if we can
Okay.
just frame it, and then I'll send some offers out, and let's see if someone bites, and if I get a really good gig, then we can build around that, and I can build around that, and
But do they do like festivals in the towns and stuff still
I mean,
there?
there are some really cool gigs that you can get, like really nice clubs, but that pay really well, and that then it makes sense to do it around that. So
Right.
then,
Right.
then you get three of those gigs and four of kind of normal gigs. I'll put it like that. So
Well, it's
then,
funny
then
to
fun.
think about even, I saw like the Who, for instance, when Magic Bus just came out in a club that's the size of a barn, it was like
Sure, yeah,
because they were in Chicago and they were going to another big city, so they had a day off. So rather than have a day off, which cost them money for hotels and all
sure,
that, why not book a gig somewhere?
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah. I mean
absolutely.
that was such an amazing gig because they blew out the power 7 times. But there were 7 Keith Moon drum solos.
Oh man,
Oh, and I'm like 15 years old.
oh
I'm
you love that, man.
standing there like, oh my God. And they still trashed their equipment. I remember Townsend's guitar falling in front of me, and then their manager like almost knocked me over, trying because they had to gather all that stuff. They wouldn't just leave it as souvenirs.
Oh,
But it was
interesting.
it was crazy. It was nowadays you go hear bands and you need binoculars and
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
it's not. You might as well just watch it on television if they're in those
yeah,
big halls like
those
that.
gigs, yeah.
And even jazz gigs too. I mean, playing in clubs. I mean, where you can talk to people on the breaks and stuff. When people are playing big symphony halls, it sounds good, but it's not the same aesthetic
Yeah,
that the music,
it's lost. Yeah,
was raised in, sort of.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's funny.
Absolutely.